Well, now we're going into the backyard, which is absolutely incredible. We're moving from this potting area, kind of a workspace. You can see the dry riverbed here to the west. And then, Stuart, if you can kind of give a glimpse of what is around the corner. So there is a side door here. There's kind of some play space and workspace here. And then it wraps around with stepping stones. And I love the way this stepping stone is cut into this flagstone path. I love that. And then this is continued. It's the little things, and Linda is a master of detail. And then we're going to be flanked on both sides with all sorts of different kinds of plants that she, in some cases, have allowed to get really, really large and overgrown, and then she just kind of tames them later. So there is surrounding, if you can point up to the living deck, the living area, you can see she's got a chimenea, some furniture, and then there is a stone bed that circumscribes this back patio, and this is all filled with pink azaleas, which is, they're obviously past their bloom period, but just really, really gorgeous. And then on the left, this is just filled with all sorts of red dragon, and I believe this is Pearl of Omar or Jewel of Omar. She's got some Japanese painted fern. On the right, she's flanked with all sorts of hydrangeas, reblooming hydrangeas. She's continued. Look how massive the head of that hydrangea is, Stuart. And this is a testament to how much water we have had recently and how much rain that the leaves are yellowing a little bit. They're kind of chlorotic, and she'll have to come back in here with some iron.
Interesting. Is the water why the heads are so big, or is that just a...
Well, yes, one of the reasons. And then we've also got over here a repetition of some of the Coleus, which it's still early in the summer, so by the end of the summer, this Coleus will just really fill this bed. It's blooming up against some Nepeta, some catmint. And then she has allowed, unlike mine, this red dragon. Is this Persificolia? I should know better, shouldn't I, Stuart? But she has really allowed this to get so large on both sides that it almost looks like a shrub. So she uses, this is a tip, she uses some of her perennials, because she's got the space to be able to do it, the luxury of large expanses of space, to grow perennials as shrubs, almost as shrubs. And you can see how beautiful the Coleus looks with the markings on the red dragon, and then she's got more Coleus around to the other path in the distance. So there is repetition of that and repetition of those same plantings as you round this section of flower bed. And it comes up to a beautiful oak tree. And then, because she loves container plantings as much as she's got her mama bear, papa bear, baby bear trio of container plantings at the top of the steps. And these are all filled with succulents, because this faces south, and this is a really intense exposure. So she's got sedums in here. She's got purple sweet potato vine, purple heart, all different kinds of sedums, and she's got some thyme. she's got some of this golden, I can't remember the variety of this, but just lots of different deep, dark colors enhanced and brightened up by some golden coleus. There's some, or golden sedums, there's some moss rose, and then some more sun coleus there. And then in the shady areas over here, she just has allowed nature to do what it wants to do, and she has put more boulders in there. She's beautifully sculpted. Sometimes we get centered on looking at the color and the blooming shrubs and things, that we aren't as attentive enough to the bones of the garden and the infrastructure, which is something I'm more fascinated with now as a gardener. And how beautiful, look at the sculpting on that magnolia, the framing, it's just, the branching is just exquisite. Just exquisite. And then let's show them the long view, Stuart.
I'm going to try a switch to the wide shot.
Okay, see if we can do this.
Oh, yeah.
We can do it? Oh, good. So you can see the lake in the distance. And this is that classic example of the gardens are more cultivated closer to the house and less cultivated away from the house. Look at this, oh my gosh, look at that climbing hydrangea on that oak tree.
That's hydrangea?
That is a climbing hydrangea.
I didn't know that was a thing.
And I believe that's what it is. And I have tried to grow it, and I have not been able to. And there it has found its perfect spot.
That in bloom would just be amazing.
Amazing. And if I'm IDing that incorrectly, somebody let me know. So here is a point of departure, Stuart. So there's the view all the way down to the lake, and then at this point, this is going to give us a promenade where we can walk. So if we go to the left, we go in one direction to the east, but we're going to start out over here, walking down this flagstone path, flanked by these huge golden junipers. And then she's got some of her trademark oak leaf hydrangeas in here, because she, like me, as she's progressed over time, she is more interested, I think, in blooming shrubs than in just masses and masses of annuals, though she has lots of perennials. And if you come down this way, you see that there's a repetition of the same color of Coleus, of the pink hydrangeas, and then she also has, at various areas, she has wonderful focal points. Look at this great bird bath, Stuart.
Oh, wow.
That is something that reminds me of you. Isn't that brilliant? Mm-hmm. And then look at how beautifully the tree behind it has been sculpted. And the tree beyond that looks like a desert willow beyond it, and it has also been beautifully sculpted. And yes, here's another example of how you can tell that she selects her trees based on the bark. A quintessential signature touch of hers. And you can maybe in the distance, you can hear, Linda does have some help of some young gardeners and young under gardeners who come and help her with this. Her larkspur is about done. Some of these plants I cannot ID, so I'm going to have to ask her.
It's funny, sometimes it seems like I always go left when you go right. I'm always on the opposite side of the row where you.
Well, it's probably because we're walking and.
No, it's my fault. Jeez, I should.
Well, no, it's not. It's not anybody's fault.
I'm trying to get it right.
Yeah, this looks like there's baptisia here, and ginkgo. Linda, can you join us?
Sure.
My darling. Well, we're going to kind of do the loop.
Hey, Lou. Hey, Stuart.
Hey.
Again.
So this is, if you didn't watch the one yesterday, please do so. This is my friend and buddy and gardener extraordinaire, Linda Lambert. What is this?
This is Turk's turban. It's a Malvaciscus, and it is the best plant for Oklahoma. I have 5 of these, and they were in little bitty pots when I first bought them. They are perennials. They get huge, and they get little red flowers underneath the leaf, not on top, underneath, that look like, remember when the Shriners caps?
Yes, yes.
They look like little Shriners. They're little red caps that come under the leaves. They haven't bloomed yet, but for Oklahoma,
and when do they bloom?
They'll bloom all summer.
Oh, wow.
They'll bloom all summer. Shade, sun, heat, doesn't matter.
Interesting.
They love Oklahoma.
And the other thing I am noticing about them is we had really torrential heavy rain last night. They didn't even flatten, and they're partly supported by different things that you've got them planted around, but that's just beautiful. Stuart, I would be remiss if I didn't have you turn around so you can see that the views always go both ways. So always remember to turn around. And again, the sculpting and your signature touch. What are these trees with the really light white
Those
bark?
are Jane magnolias, tulip magnolias.
I am not familiar with that specific variety.
Oh my gosh, they get huge pink blossoms, Linda, like tulips.
Like tulips. Well,
like,
you know,
like cups. They look like tulip cups.
when I grew up in Indiana, they had what were called tulip trees, but they didn't look like this.
Yes.
And I don't know that they were magnolias. So this is a plant that now that you mention it is popular in Oklahoma, and I should know that, and I do not. But that's just lovely. You've got hibiscus over here in your points of real intense sun.
Yes.
And then you've got this wonderful ginkgo.
Which was a gift from a dear friend, little bitty thing, planted it here.
And
it took the place of a pomegranate that died. There's a
That
pomegranate,
died.
You know, so it's all ever
And
changing.
baptisia
And the baptisia is about to
and phlox, tall phlox.
All right, where's the baptisia? I'm trying to follow you guys.
Okay, this is the baptisia with its distinctive blue-gray, which is a color I am so enamored with in the garden.
A blue hosta.
Yeah, yes.
This is all false turtlehead. And the thing about false turtlehead is it does nothing all summer long except this until August, when everything else is burned up, and these get those beautiful purple feathery flowers. The whole garden will
Oh
be
my
covered
gosh.
in purple
And
feathers.
is it overly aggressive?
Yes.
It is.
It's just enough aggressive for my garden.
Yeah,
But it can
right.
be overly aggressive if you have a small garden. But it's a perennial, and we cut it back to the ground.
I need to get a little start of that.
You can have as much of it as you would like.
Yeah, I may have to put it in a pot though. Is this Helen von
Those are
Stein?
Helen von Stein's lamb's ears. And the other thing I consider in this garden, the deer look at my garden as a salad bar. And
So that's a lens. You have to look through everything
I have to
before
look through the eyes and mouths of deer because they will
you
eat
have to
anything.
become a
I
deer.
have to become a deer. And you are my dear friend.
Yes. But so everything truly, that's another great tip. You will not allow something in your garden if it's not deer tolerant.
At my own peril.
At your own peril.
Yeah. And what deer do not like are things that are furry or that have too much of a fragrance. So, lamb's ears and the peta.
Yeah,
are
right.
staples.
Yes.
But if they're hungry, they'll eat anything. But that's just something when I'm looking for plants, I look and see, are they deer?
So you don't do anything else as a deterrent?
I do. I have deer scram, which is, I have a big bucket of it. It's a
Tip.
combination. Deer
Tip.
scram is, I choose to think, really effective. It is dried garlic and dried blood. I mean, it smells, but you just sprinkle it around the perimeter, and they don't like the smell of it.
So Linda gardens pretty much almost, maybe not 100%, but almost 100% organically?
Yes, try to.
Yes,
Try
yeah.
to.
You're kind of like me. I sometimes budget a little bit around
In
the edges.
the arroyo, I will do some things that I would not do in my
Yes,
garden.
yeah.
And I'm not even going to talk about it. But
Yeah,
that's-
yeah. Right. We do what we can, but we have to
but
live in
I
the world
do it
of
and then pretend I
reality.
didn't do it.
Yes, yes.
Look at this.
And you've got some irises that look like they have bloomed. You've
Here's
got
another arroyo.
yeah, just the other thing is it just is a conversation that's just ongoing all the way down to the lake.
Let's
which
bring Cindy in. You want to bring Cindy?
yeah, Cindy, come in here. This Cindy is another really a personality in Oklahoma gardening. I would think.
She's famous and is a staple for anyone who loves gardening.
Yeah, as
you
a
know Cindy.
staple. So many of you know Cindy. If you're from the Oklahoma City area, you know Cindy from TLC. That's where we met originally, many
20 years ago, probably.
many years ago.
20 years ago.
But did you ever do Oklahoma gardening? I know you were on segments of Oklahoma gardening.
Segments, yeah, but I never did all the episodes. But
Yeah,
I
all
did
the
quite a few
episodes.
segments.
Yeah, and then you and your husband have a landscaping business that has evolved into a whole new enterprise now.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But now, how you do help Linda with her garden?
Oh, yeah.
Helping is,
So-
is a misnomer. She is,
And it's a blessing. It's a blessing to help her with her garden. It's so amazing.
well, I've learned a lot from Cindy. And she's a good friend and part of the family.
Yeah, well,
And I couldn't do it without her.
and
I
good,
could not-
yeah, and really great synergy of two accomplished gardeners. And you probably think of this as your own.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Yeah. And every week that you come, it's different. Something's changed, which is really cool.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
cool. Exciting.
I'm obsessed with the concept of seasonal expressions now, and how how seasons just express themselves, even if sometimes the season is kind of ugly. But I mean, nevertheless, we would get bored if there wasn't just constant transformation.
Yeah.
We always want things to last longer, but sometimes
And then
maybe
you
not.
tire of them.
And then you tire of them because you're ready for something else. Now you have some under gardeners over here too. So I don't know if you know this. Mackenzie is the niece of a neighbor that lives down the street. So that's how I met
Right.
Mackenzie. It's a small world, isn't
And
it?
this is our gardening associate. This is Ivy. We started them young out here.
Yes.
Take a high five.
And I don't think I have ever been out here when Ivy wasn't
Aw.
here.
There she goes. Good to share that with Stuart.
All right, thank you. Can I have a pretzel?
sharing.
She is
Maybe.
truly a garden nymph.
Can I have a pretzel?
She is.
Oh, that's
She
the whole
is,
thing?
Yes, we have pictures of her wrapped up in a blanket, sleeping under that tree.
And so I love this story because it speaks to the circularity and the life story of gardening. You were pregnant during the pandemic with Ivy, and you would work in the garden, and you couldn't go anyplace else. So you were here in the garden, and then you and I were talking earlier. You were almost surprised you didn't give birth in the garden because it was such an intrinsic part of your pregnancy experience. And now Ivy is just growing up in the garden. She has her own PlayStation over there, I noticed.
Yes.
That's right, and she gets paid just like everybody else.
Yeah, and she's a surrogate granddaughter. She's a surrogate granddaughter for you, and so it's just
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's new life in a new way.
Yeah.
We've got new life in our plants. We have new life with Ivy.
yeah.
For all of it. It's just a joy.
And even though men are welcome out here, there is something to be
Mostly
said about
us
the
women.
feminine, nurturing energy out here for sure.
Yes, it is a garden of goddesses.
That's right.
There you go.
Love it.
Yeah, and the other thing that I love about having a child in the garden is you never get jaded because you're constantly seeing things through the eyes of a child, and you can't take anything for granted.
She's just a joy.
She's up over there. I
Oh,
always
I
have eyes.
can see her.
It's like a subconscious thing.
I don't want you to miss the feather before you.
No, we will not miss the feather.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Okay, so we're going to go down here.
Okay.
We're going to go down here. Well, I'll meet back up with you guys.
We'll pick up with you
Y-
later.
Yeah, later. Okay, so Stuart, let's come this way. Are these all Annabelles in here? How's come yours? I guess they've got enough protection from the trees. Mine all really flopped in all the heavy rain.
I guess if the trees
Yeah.
took the brunt of it.
Yep. And these are growing in pretty much shade, Stuart. Because this is definitely the shady aspect. And I must ask her what the signs mean. She's got names. I wonder if those are her children. She has signs named for different areas of the garden. And Linda, people won't be able to hear you unless you get
I can
close
get her
to
close
me.
to here, yeah.
Okay, what's the significance of the names on the?
There are 5 of these mosaics. They're my 5 grandchildren.
Okay, your grandchildren.
These are my 5 grandchildren, and this was a gift one year from my daughter for Mother's Day, and it was made by one of my gardeners.
Wow.
You remember Charlie Lambert?
Oh yes.
Charlie made these.
Really?
Charlie. So there is Blakely, Peter, Charlotte, Emma, and Luke, and so that's what the 5.
And they each have their own
And they each
special
have their-
little garden space.
So even though they don't live here or even live close, they're still here.
Well, and talk about making a child feel important and a child feel empowered to have their own garden space. You know, even if they're here or they're not, you know, you can say, oh, look, this is what's blooming in your garden right now when you FaceTime and things. Yeah, really, really, really wonderful. So I guess you're going to have to join me because I need to know the history of the feather.
Okay, the history of the feather is that there was a giant oak tree
Okay?
that died. And my hammock is my 3rd bedroom.
And why wouldn't it be?
And so when this oak tree died, what am I going to do? It held up one side of my hammock, one end of my hammock. And so I knew that planting a tree, I would never live long enough for the tree to be stable
Right.
enough to hold me. So I contacted Colin Rosebrook in the Paseo, and I said, there's something about a feather that just draws me. The whole culture of the feather, the sacredness of the feather, the Native American culture of the feather, and what the feather means, the connection between heaven and earth and taking flight and all that. Would you make me a feather? And he said, sure. So we came out, and how tall should it be? Well, about probably 10 or 12 feet tall. I said, wait a minute, let me go back to my porch and see how
Smart
tall,
you.
see how tall
Smart
the feather
you.
should be. 10 to 12 feet is not even half as tall as it needs to be. So it's like 30 feet tall. And so that now.
And it serves its purpose brilliantly. And what I love is, again, your trees are sculpted to sheer magnificence. You've got a wonderful gong over here.
Yes, and
in the distance. There's not much of a breeze today, so
it is stuffed because when it breathes, it has a. I'll let you see what it sounds like.
is there something has taken up residence in there?
Well, I have cows in there because when it gongs, it is beautiful, but if it gongs all day long, it really is tiring.
Yeah.
So it annoys the neighbors.
Yeah.
So I want you to stand back.
Okay.
Stand back.
I'll stand here. Stuart, while I'm standing back, let's get this beautiful perspective of the lake
Just did it.
and the dock. Wonderful. I should have known.
We think alike.
And then also this seating area that leads back up to the house. Oh. Sounds like church bells. It is. Absolutely beautiful. So that's case in point. That's the essence of a garden being experiential and engaging all of your senses. And it is just a real treasure, I think. A treasure of sound. I should know, and I don't. Which one of these is a survivor tree?
Try not to ask her questions from this far away.
Yeah. Yeah, she can point.
Oh,
so
cool,
yeah.
perfect. You did so good.
Yeah, she pointed, she knew. It's huge. Okay, so the survivor tree dates back to the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995, which was really a turning point for all of us in Oklahoma. And there were some little saplings that were given out because these were elm saplings from the survivor tree, which is still surviving at the Oklahoma City Memorial. And boy, it could have not found a better home.
It was a little twig about 4 feet tall and about this big around. And I planted it, and then the deer started eating it, so I had to put a playpen
Protect it.
around it
Yeah.
until it grew. And we've had to prune it because it can get pretty top heavy, but its roots come out 15 feet.
Oh my
15
gosh.
feet from the ground, and it's just.
So I love the idea of this situation, and I mean, can we just show again what a view? But I love the fact that you haven't tried to create here something that is not indigenous to Oklahoma, that doesn't speak the language, because you love Oklahoma. And the fact that that your feather speaks to our Native American culture, that you have a survivor tree here, that you're always thinking about what trees or what plants, will grow on the prairie. Or the fact that even though it has something of an English garden quality about it, it nevertheless is truly an Oklahoma garden.
And it's kind of controlled chaos.
Yes, yes, yes.
That is not, it's not too structured, but it does have a structure. But it's not real obvious.
But it's not.
Only with an eye like yours would you be able to really see the structure of the garden.
Oh, it's very much, yeah. If you deconstruct it, you will notice that the edges are very much manicured, that there is intermittent presence of evergreens to give year-round interest. The way you have pruned the trees make it look very much loved and very maintained. And you and I were talking about this concept that I'm becoming fascinated with, that somebody termed my garden, and that's the new formality. And it's that juxtaposition of things that are just beautifully tailored, pruned, manicured, tended, but against and with attention, beautiful tension against things that may be natives, that may be, have lots of looseness to them, that have movement to them. And I think that yours is just the perfect example of the tension of those two things.
And it's a tension of those two that complement each other.
Right, yeah.
That don't fight each other.
Well, it creates a beautiful synergy that the one would not be present without the other.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's go back up and walk along the east side and then we'll finish up because you have been so gracious to spend this time with us.
I have loved it. What is a garden if you can't share it?
And that's just it. And let me just say, I don't think I've ever been here when there weren't other garden visitors here, because a garden is an expression of love and joy and community. And she shares hers with everyone.
As do you.
Because it's a part of our mission as gardeners.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not to keep to myself.
No,
I mean, it's to
it's
share.
part of overall health and wellness.
You bet. And our well-being.
And our soul. Because, yeah.
I'm
So,
going to get my sunlight.
okay. Okay, we'll keep walking this way, Stuart.
That's the way we came down.
Well, we're going to go, that's okay. You can go back up this way, but we're going to come back this way so we can show it from the different perspective. Along in here, there is going to be a huge presence, a huge dramatic mass of yellow when all of this lantana, again, this faces south. So when the sun comes in underneath the canopy of the trees, all of this lantana will get enough sun to really make it explode in gold and highlight some of the gold that you've got in your foliage and things. You've got some of obviously your signature touches of your lamb's ear. And what?
That's Viburnum.
That is a Viburnum.
That's a Viburnum.
I am becoming, as a category of plants, a Viburnum lover.
It is.
It's so holly looking.
Will it bloom?
Yes, it has bloomed.
It already has
It
bloomed.
already has bloomed. It blooms when the snowball Viburnum blooms.
Okay. And does it berry? I don't see any berries on there yet.
Berries on there?
The birds may have already,
Gone.
the birds have eaten most of mine, I've noticed. And then you've got an unbelievable borrowed view here. It's fortunate you. You've got a wonderful borrowed view of just more green spaces. And
there were originally big oaks here that died, and so it opened up to have a perennial garden. But it never had enough sun.
And
It's
and the other thing is you have a lot better airflow than you had before,
absolutely.
which is so important to the health and vitality of your garden and treating fungal diseases and everything. So, okay, what kind of maple is this?
This is another cattle maple. It is the yellow-bellied sapsuckers.
Yeah, they really have, but doesn't it make a fabulous pattern?
I was about to say.
Yeah, those are yellow-bellied sapsuckers.
And will they harm the tree, or do they just
Eventually.
Eventually,
Yeah.
but maybe not in our lifetime. And in the meantime, it gives a wonderful pattern. And then you've got, again, these sculpted branches that frame the view over this way by arching. There's a wonderful saying by Thomas Church that there's not enough money to be able to recreate the value of the arching branch over, I can't remember, I'm butchering that. But nevertheless, this is what it does. Yeah, is it just arches over the...
And then I lost 2 big oak trees over here, and it made the garden out of balance. All of the weight
The visual weight was over there.
And every time I walked out, I kind of list this way because all the weight in the garden was that way. So I had a pergola built to balance the weight of the garden.
And this is just absolutely brilliant, and it's harmonious with the rest of the garden. You've got a cypress tree over here. Can I just say, if you are missing these one morning, these chairs, you'll know where to go, because I dearly love the organic quality. I've gotten too far away from you with my mic, but I love the organic quality of these chairs and these massive pots that are these plum yews?
These are dwarf spreading, low spreading yews.
Low spreading Japanese yews, and they look beautiful in here. And I just think you don't have to have a lot of color to have so much textural interest in your garden, and this does it brilliantly.
And these little glass things are sewer reamers. They are at the end of a rotor-rooter.
Oh my gosh.
And I have a friend that's a glass artist in Tucson, and she took a rotor-rooter, the end of the rotor-rooter, and cast it in glass. And we made these. And
oh my
the
word.
centers are car gears. The very, very top. So this is kind of we call it our windelier. It's not a chandelier, it's a windelier.
It's a windelier. It's wonderful. Okay, let me just bring it down to earth, because so many, when I first started gardening, I didn't have deep pockets, and I've had 2 small kids, and they were in private school. I mean, there wasn't a lot of money to spend on the garden. So if you don't have deep pockets and you have, an issue of major trees coming down, what are some other ways we could have incorporated visual weight over here without the expense of a pergola or planting large trees?
I think you find one big thing, and do it over and over. One thing.
That is the perfect, no, you're right, because it gives that a mass,
Yes.
the mass presence of something. And this is where inexpensive, large-growing, relatively fast-growing, large shrubs are just invaluable, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's one thing.
One thing, you're
And
right.
you do it over and over again where your eye can follow
Yes.
the plant, which is kind of what we've done here.
Yes. And so, and then the brilliance of that is, as other things grow and mature around it, sometimes you can even plant them with the intention of sacrificing some of them later.
Sure.
As one grows, and you can remove one, or you can do my favorite thing, which is just pruning them up as they get larger. Then you can plant underneath them. But there are, and if you can't afford to buy a bunch of new shrubs or whatever, there's always, if you look hard enough, there's typically always somebody who is willing to share some of what they have in their garden.
And also gardening goes against the culture of today, which is everything has to happen right now,
Right.
right fast. You have to have
Immediate gratification.
Immediate gratification. There is we are not a culture of waiters. We can,
No.
we just don't want to wait in the grocery line, at the restaurant, whatever. And so one of the things I'm learning is that you don't have to. In fact, you can't do everything at once. It just has to happen season by season, bit by bit. And you have to learn to be content with that. But it cannot, if it's a real garden,
Yes.
come full grown in one season.
Yes. And I think you have to be content with the fact that the knowledge, and of course you explain this to every garden visitor because you want to rationalize why it doesn't look perfect, that it takes some time, that this is an area still in progress.
Right.
And then this is an area that is needing to mature until it comes into place, because if you're like me, you look out the window and that visual imbalance will drive you crazy.
Yes.
And you have to just keep telling yourself that in due time, in due course. And sometimes then the solution that you may have come up with will change.
Exactly. And it's better
Or-
than what you would have thought if you did it right on the spur of the moment.
Yes.
And I think there's a difference in being driven and being drawn.
Ooh, that's good.
That
That's
most
really
of us
good.
live in a world of being driven to do this, to have this, to make this happen, rather than let yourself be drawn to it over time and what kind of feels right.
Yeah.
Rather than just what looks right.
Yeah. And sometimes a gift presents itself. When I lost so much in my front yard, I have a mutual friend of ours, it's a landscaper, and he had a huge pretty large baby gem magnolia that was stripped on one side at another client's house, and they wanted to remove it and put in one that was perfect. And I just came out there one day, and he had planted it in the place where it didn't matter if it had a bad backside, to fill a void.
Perfect.
And that's,
Perfect.
you talk about garden gifts. Stuart, we're going to have to wrap this up because this is a busy lady.
No, I love nothing more than what we're doing right now. But you're a dream to
You know
come
I
and
love
be
you.
able to- I'd love you right on back.
You know, and the thing was, the last time I saw you before this gardening reunion was we went to an orchestration at Christmas time
We did at OCU.
at
Went to-
OCU. Yes, and it was just
Went to their Vespers.
Yeah, wasn't it just beautiful?
was
It was
fabulous.
really it was just gorgeous. A real Christmas treat.
Thank you so
my
much. This has
darling.
been, thank you, Stuart.
Hey, my pleasure.
This has been
Thank you.
such a joy.
Well, and
I've
we
loved
will
every minute.
re-experience this joy, and we'll do it in the company of some other people.
We will.
How's
We will.
that?
We're gonna have our thing. Our
Oh no, we are.
What did
And
Wine and garden, right? Wasn't that what it was?
yes, we need to have wine in the garden.
Wine
We
and
need
garden.
to- yes, and the other thing is at some point I also want to show them, because Linda is also a writer, and she put together for just special people a beautiful gardening book, hardbound lessons from I don't know.
along the garden path.
along the garden path, but basically lessons
have it.
from the
You
garden.
have it?
I have only, I
I have one for you.
You do?
I
Oh,
do
good.
have- I do have one
because
for you.
I've only borrowed Jeannie's copy.
Oh, I've got one for you. I thought I'd already given it to you.
No, I don't have one.
All right, I will give it to you.
I
next,
never,
but
I
have
never
something to
leave
sign.
these things empty.
No, but I thought, hey, I could have sworn I
Well,
gave
there's
you
been a
one.
pandemic.
Okay. Here, this is off camera, but I want you to see these little allium. These
Oh,
are
aren't they? Yes.
These are drumstick allium, and they're the very last allium to bloom.
Are they Allium thurense
They
or
are Pherocephalon.
Pherocephalon? Anyhow, they're wonderful. They make a fun cut flower too. Thank you, my darling.
Thank you. I love
Okay,
every
love
minute
you.
of it. You're a
Okay,
sweetheart. Thank
okay.
you.
We will.
Stuart, thank you. This has been such a joy. I've loved every
Okay,
minute.
we'll be in touch.
We will be.
My people will get in touch with your people.
No, you will get in touch with me, and I will get in touch with you. We are not going to turn this over to our people.
Oh, that's true. This is way too
this is
important.
direct to the source. We're not going through intermediaries.
Okay, well, I know where to find you.
Thank
Okay.
you, darling. Love you guys.
Bye.
Stuart, thank you. This has been love everything.
Okay, so we're going to sign off
How do I
because,
find it?
huh?
How do I find it then?
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to have to sign off because we could be here all day. We could absolutely be here all day, and I have my friend Cindy who is waiting in the wings, and she is going to share her very deep knowledge, wealth of expertise with us. So signing off for now. Thank you guys for hanging out with me in this really beautiful garden. Well, if you've held on this long, here is my outfit du jour. My straw hat is from Coolabah, which is one of the brands that I just love because it's got sunscreen in it. And I also love this hat because it can travel really easily and it's got a wide brim. My earrings are some that I got, I don't know, years ago. Couldn't even tell you where I got them. My dress, I think it came from World Market, believe it or not. And I love it. And some of the gals were commenting, why am I all dressed up? But honestly, you guys know that I work outside and do stuff outside in these kind of loose dresses all the time because I find them just so comfortable. Now, when I'm working out in the yard in a dress, typically it isn't a long one. And then I've got on booties because we got lots of rain again last night. So these are from J. Crew, and obviously they are waterproof. And let's see, my sunglasses, my sunnies are Ray-Bans via Poshmark. And my bracelets are just a fun assortment of all different ones. This comes from my friend at Atrios Tiles. She sent me one of these bangles. This was a gift from Hubs. This was a gift from one of my best friends. This was a gift from Hubs also. My one and only piece of jewelry from Tiffany's, I might add. And this I got on a trip, I think, to Mexico. So there you go. There's my outfit of the day.